Hi there everyone, Lars here from Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And like I promised in my previous video, I am going to talk about the abandoned relationship of Ichiruki. Now then, I'm going to admit right here, this is something that I've really wanted to talk about now for a while. And each and every time that I put pen to paper, I put my fingertips to the keyboard, it just fell apart. And this is something that was really bugging me for the longest time because I really like the series Bleach. I really like the dynamic between Ichigo and Rukia. Even set aside the fact that no romance played out for them, I really enjoy these characters. I really enjoy this world. I think that what Kubo did was incredible. And it's just, well, it all fell apart at the end for a wide variety of reasons. So today what I want to do is I kind of want to pull back that curtain of all that messiness and confusion and the angry opinions that many fans of Bleach have about various elements within the final arc, the Thousand Year Blood War arc, which is going to be animated, and I hope it is incredible when it finally airs. But what I want to do here is I want to have a look at this particular relationship, see what kind of potential it had, and talk about why it didn't come about, and why Kubo, though he followed through with what he intended in the overall story, this element of the story right here, the relationship between Ichigo and Rukia, is a stumbling block to what could have been an absolute masterpiece. Alright, so for those of you who are not in the know, Bleach is a fantastic story about Ichigo Kurosaki, a young boy who can see ghosts and interact with them. And while this is a quirk that he has just accepted throughout his entire life, things take a weird turn for the awesome and for the worst when these spirits lure demons called Hollows to his home and they attack his family. But a resident Soul Reaper, an angel kind of figure who is supposed to protect the world of the living from these monsters and help the spirits of the dearly departed pass on into the next life, Rukia Kuchiki, she gets involved in all this because she can sense this overwhelming power. And through a series of crazy events, their fates become intertwined. Ichigo becomes a Soul Reaper thanks to Rukia, and he then has to protect Rukia because he basically sucked away all her powers in the process. And this leads to a whole bunch of crazy and great adventures for the two of them, culminating in Ichigo having to go into the world beyond, into the world of spirits, the Soul Society, and rescue Rukia from being executed. And from there, all different kinds of revelations come forth, friendships are made, enemies are made, and it's incredible. The Soul Society arc is one of the best things Kubo has ever created. The art is on point, the pacing is on point, the action is incredible, the reveals are amazing, there's just so many great jaw-dropping moments, it's emotional, it's powerful, and this then bleeds into the larger wars between various heroes and villains, and as Ichigo continues to progress in his power and learn more and more about who he is. And Rukia is the best friend who is constantly by his side, helping him throughout all of these different adventures. And Kubo himself actually said that he viewed Ichigo and Rukia as more than just friends, but not quite lovers. Now, this ambiguous statement right here was one that had a lot of people scratching their heads, especially because, well, Kubo really liked to draw Ichigo and Rukia together. Some of the best scenes in the manga and in the anime are of them together, and everything just kind of seemed to be on this trajectory for the two of them to end up together by the end of the story. But that is not what happened. Now then, before anyone goes on to be like, okay Lars, you are just shipping trash right here, come on, respect the canon. Well, I do. I honestly do. I might have not liked it, but I do respect it. If you want to know what Camille's Harem's stance is on shipping, well, we have an entire podcast episode devoted to that. Our 10 Commandments of Shipping, and it's something that we hold ourselves to because shipping, while really fun to do as a fan, can be extraordinarily detrimental to your enjoyment of any story, and especially to your own creative process. So as a result, if you want to enjoy shipping, there's a couple of rules that we believe that you should follow. One of which is always respect the canon. And even though I may not be a huge fan of it, Ichigo does marry Orihime. They have a really cute son together. That is what Kubo intended from the get-go. And yeah, there it is. And I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to seeing the anime hopefully make this relationship make way more sense than just having it shoehorned in at the end. And I'm also hoping that as Kubo actually continues the manga now, that he will do a fantastic job of showing what their relationship is like. Come on, Kubo, I've got faith in you. Please, please do not let me down again. But from here, I want to talk about the relationship of Ichigo and Rukia as a potential romance and why it worked so well and why I feel that this is an abandoned moment within the series that ultimately kind of led to a lot of confusion and a bit of a detriment to the story. So, I'm going to go at various moments right here. There's people who have written entire essays on why these two should get together and everything. I'm not going to spend an hour's worth just breaking down all of their individual moments. No, instead, what I want to do is I want to highlight the fact that these two characters begin and ultimately are supposed to end the story together. These two, their fates are intertwined. They support each other. They build each other up. It is incredible that the only character who can truly bring Ichigo back from the brink each and every time is Rukia. She understands him. She knows him. Some of the most emotional and beautiful moments within the story are these two. When they meet together and when they part at the end of the war with the Arrancar and with Aizen, that is a moment that will stick with me, honestly, for my entire life. It made me tear up, and it's something that still, when I see it or when I hear the music from the anime, for this one scene, I just have to stop what I'm doing and just appreciate the moments. And this is one of the things that you want within any good relationship, that there is strong charisma. That is what these two have. And I love how it's not just simply lovey-dovey and, oh, we get along so well. No, they fight a ton, and they're constantly bickering, talking things out, making fun of each other, kicking each other around. Great slapstick humor. You get the whole package with these two right here. The dynamic between Ichigo and Rukia is phenomenal. Even just as friends, it's amazing. But as a potential couple, it plays out even more so because Rukia's got a whole lot of baggage in her past, the same with Ichigo, and both of them help the other one to move on. No other character within the series is able to help them embrace their past, overcome their past demons, and become better and stronger people for it. And that is something that, once again, is so great to see in any sort of relationship. Another element that needs to be brought up, and this is something that Kubo did not deliver on, and this is one of the reasons why, unfortunately, putting Ichigo with Orihime was not great payoff, was that Ichigo and Rukia's relationship and all of the events surrounding their getting together, their becoming friends, them working together to save the Soul Society, mirrored many of the events of Ichigo's own parents. In fact, when you look at some of the panels that Kubo drew, they are basically identical. And as a result of that, it was just clicking like, holy cow, Ichigo and Rukia really do share this bonded fate. It just made sense that they would get together. And then on top of that, Kubo even writes in a panel as Kisuke Urahara, the man who's pulling the strings behind the scene and just one of the most crazy, most awesome dudes in the entire series, even says that he's going to leave the final battle of the war that will determine the fate of everyone. He is leaving it to Ichigo and Rukia. But Rukia is not present for that fight. Instead, it is Orihime. This right here goes against everything that Kubo was setting up. On top of that, Orihime just gets blasted away. She does nothing for the fight. So, payoff goes out the window there. And again, I understand Kubo originally intended for Ichigo and Orihime to get together, so he wanted them to be together for the final fight. But he did not even write that well. And that comes down to him feeling rushed, feeling depressed, and a whole load of other things that I'm not going to get into. You can find plenty of those details out there on the internet if you're interested in wondering what the heck went down with that debacle. But all of this comes back to what I said in my previous rant about abandoned romances. Kubo put so much effort into these two characters. Now then, there's some people who believe that it was his editors really pushing this, and whether it was his editors pushing it, or whether it was him just kind of getting lost in these two fantastic characters playing off of each other so well, the fact of the matter is that he spent so much time putting Ichigo and Rukia together as a couple. And yet he did not deliver. As a result, it came as a massive slap in the face to a whole lot of readers. Yes, for the people who shipped Ichigo and Orihime and Rukia and Renji, it was fine, it was great. And the way that he's carrying on with the series, it still looks pretty fine. But it was not proper payoff to the setup that he had created. And really, one of the biggest potential romances was right there with Ichigo and Rukia. Nothing ever came of it. And I feel like this is an instance where Kubo kind of just got lost in what he was doing. He was setting up the story that he wanted to, and the story evolved. This is something that happens to so many writers. They think that they know what's going to happen, they have the plan firmly in their minds, and yet when it finally comes time to get to that chapter that they've been looking forward to for so long, it doesn't turn out the way that they wanted because the story and the characters have evolved. And now that big fight changes. That relationship changes. That reveal comes at a different time. That twist is not what you originally intended it to be. And that's totally fine. We can see from looking at RWBY Volume 8 what happens when you try to shoehorn in moments that you had planned since Volume 2, but things have changed since Volume 2. That's many, many years of change, and it's the same thing that happened here with Kubo at the end of Bleach. He had not properly set up the ending that he wanted to have. As a result, a fantastic relationship was set off to the side, never culminated, and the ending felt forced and confused. Again, I hope that the anime is able to rectify this particular problem because the manga really botched it. I'm sorry to say, but that's just the case. And as an argument for why this relationship would have been a great alternative for Kubo to run with, despite the fact that he felt that it was best for him to go with his original ending, is not just simply the build-up and the payoff, but because, well, Orihime and Ichigo never have the same kind of raw chemistry. Orihime is not the one who wakes up Ichigo when he needs it. Orihime is not the one who inspires him to really become more powerful. And yes, I know there's the whole Vasto Lorde argument and everything going on right there, but that was Ichigo's own fight against Ulquiorra. And there was so much more that was built up into that. And that actually, as we come to find out later on, was not even so much about Orihime as it was his own awakening powers needed to help him rise to the next level and fight, which is a really cool reveal in the final arc when you realize, holy dang, that's why the Vasto Lorde showed up. Holy cow! And when you learn what the actual identity of the Vasto Lorde is, it gets even better. Kubo knew what he was doing. He had the right twists and turns. He had planned this stuff out. But he never quite properly set up the relationship between Ichigo and Orihime. It was fun, it was cute, it was flirtatious, but it never had the substance of the much stronger relationship of Ichigo and Rukia. Had he decided to, in the end, go that particular route, it would have been great payoff to this relationship building, but even more importantly, it would have paid off on so many other things that he introduced but never followed up with. The fact that Ichigo, for one, was becoming so powerful that he would not be able to live in the world of the living. He would have to go to the Soul Society. The fact that there were so many characters who were getting killed off, there were now going to be vacancies in the 13 Court Guard Squad, which that was a vacancy that Ichigo was being set up to fill. So the world building was there, the relationships were there. Kubo had invested all of this time into it. By setting this relationship aside, all of that really kind of came to naught. And that's really, really sad to see. And it's even more pathetic, honestly, that it took him working with another writer to create a series of books in order to explain why he never showed any of this. And that's just kind of bad. However, I am going to console myself with one other world-building detail. In the fight against Juabach, or Yak, or however you're supposed to say his name, the Quincy King, Ichigo learns from him that there are all these different kinds of futures, and that the Quincy King, spoiler alert, his power is to draw from various futures in order to build the perfect present and future for himself. Well, amongst all of the different futures out there was most definitely a future where Ichigo and Rukia got together and were happy. And I hope that that future is still burning brightly out there somewhere. I know I was a fool right after it. I wrote a whole long fan fiction where I got Ichigo and Rukia together. I'm going to link it just so that way you can read it and you can see what I did in my younger writing days. And I learned a lot from that. I've learned a lot as a writer from looking at what Kubo did, his successes and his failures. And this is something that I feel is very important for writers out there. It's okay to look at the failures of your favorite creators because you can then learn what you can do to better your own craft, to better your own stories. And honestly, it's okay to like something that is flawed. Bleach is flawed, but it is still one of my favorite anime and manga of all time. Ichigo is one of my favorite anime protagonists of all time. And while it didn't happen, I still feel that Ichigo and Rukia is one of the best couples that I have seen, especially in an action series. So that's all I got to say on it right here. If I keep on going any further, I'll just devolve into absolute ranting. Things are going to get confusing and whatnot. I don't want that to happen here because, ooh boy, I know I've already kind of called the thunder down on me by saying that Ichigo and Orihime is not the best couple and that Rukia and Renji is not the best couple. And you know what? Shipping is as shipping does. I respect the canon. I respect what Kubo's done. I hope that the manga continues to go on in fantastic directions and that we get amazing things from their children because, holy dang, going into hell, oh, that's going to be such an awesome story. And I can live without having my OTP. I really can. But this was something I just kind of needed to get off my chest. This was something I needed to look at, and it was a resolution that I needed so that way I could continue on with my own stories. Because, just like Kubo, as I've been doing my own writing, I've realized that sometimes things have evolved, and that especially relationships have not played out the way that I expected them to. And when that has happened, well, I need to step back and I need to be honest with myself. Is this okay or not? And it has led me to make decisions for my characters and for their character arcs that honestly are just, at least to me, they're beautiful. And I suddenly realized just how much potential was in my story. I just kind of needed to let my characters become discovered and then be who they are meant to be and to be with whom they are meant to be. So, those are my thoughts as a novice writer right there and as a fan of Bleach. Thank you for joining me on this rambling episode. I hope it actually wasn't too rambling, and I hope that there's something that you take away from this right here. Whether you're a fan of Bleach or a fan of Ichiruki or whatever else. If you're looking for more writing advice, please check out our other videos here on the channel. Or even better yet, go to our podcast, Camille's Harem, found on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, the works, where we go way deeper into detail. We have way more crazy shenanigans, a lot of fun. You get to meet the other members of the harem. It's a great time. And if you're looking for some writing challenges to help better your craft, then please go check out our Pinterest page. And we would also love for you to join our community of novice writers. We're slowly but surely growing. It's a great time. Links for all of those sites and for all of those connections are down in the description below. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.